Welcome to We Chat Divorce, hosted by Karen Chellew, Legal Liaison, and Catherine Shanahan, CDFA. Each episode, we sit down with divorce professionals and industry experts to provide insights and frank discussions about real people, real situations, and real divorce to help you achieve your best life post-divorce. This episode of We Chat Divorce is brought to you by My Divorce Solution, offering divorce financial planning so clients can secure the divorce settlement they deserve. Visit mydivorcesolution.com to request access.
Welcome to We Chat Divorce. Catherine and I welcome attorney Hubert Johnson, tax attorney and law professor today. And our episode is all about tackling tax issues when divorcing because there are so many. Taxes are often an overlooked problem in divorce, but understanding tax implications and options can be a game changer. In this episode, we will discuss how to avoid tax issues going into divorce during settlement and how to resolve in post-divorce tax matters. So that probably could encompass 3 or 4 podcasts, but we'll do what we can do today, right, Attorney Johnson?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for being here with us today. And let's meet Attorney Johnson. Hubert started his tax law career in 2009, working his way up to team lead tax attorney departments for RLD tax firm. He was also a graduate tax law professor and lecturer at Baruch College. Did I say that word right? Baruch College. In 2015, he joined Tax Tiger, where he helped launch and build a franchise. In 2018, Hubert launched Guardian Tax Law that he now owns and operates. Wow, what a resume. That's awesome.
Life has kept me busy.
I see that. We're really looking forward to our discussion today. But first, I'd like to offer the opportunity for you to share your story with our audience and maybe some of the experiences that you have gone through that brings you to our podcast today.
I've gone through, life has always, just like anybody, it throws its monkey wrenches at you. And I've been twice divorced. So, the first one was due to severe health issues, and we had little children, and it just wasn't working due to some mental issues. And then I got remarried. 8 years later, ended up going through a divorce with my second wife, and then remarried my first wife. So we've been back together 6 years. Been through the pain. I've seen it. I've seen plenty of clients go through the pain of divorce. And the biggest issue I see is that they don't know how to prepare for it. They don't know what to expect going into it. And then it hurts them. And the attorneys are usually worthless when it comes to math and finances, which is why I love what you guys are doing.
Yeah, thank you for that. And truth be told, you need an attorney, but at what point, right? And with our preparation platform, we get them prepared we're powered by knowledge here. So when they have that knowledge, they can go to the appropriate attorney. But a big section of that is taxes, and you cannot talk to your attorney about taxes. And so it's great to be able to have you as a resource because we're not going to provide all of that advice either, but we know what they need to know. And so being able to go to an expert like you and talk through these, and I can't wait to get to some questions later, is really valuable to do before you sign on the dotted line. And I always see attorneys saying, oh, you'll handle that after the divorce. Well, not everybody gets back with their first spouse like you did. So they don't want to go back and talk to them again like you did. So you need to cover this before you sign that agreement.
Yeah. And waiting till afterwards is absolutely the wrong thing to do. And most divorce attorneys, family law attorneys, even have a clause in their contracts that they don't give any tax advice. And most family law judges don't have a clue about it either.
And you know what we see from our clients when we're engaging with their family law attorneys, it's the first thing they'll say when we start to bring up tax issues is go hire a forensic. And by the way, their retainer's $10,000. And I want you to use the one I'm associated with because I'm accustomed to working with them. And, oftentimes we'll say, well, wait, we can get that question answered for your benefit, short of hiring a forensic if, you're just trying to mediate or you have a less likelihood of going to trial. So the fact that you're out there and you're doing your good work is really going to benefit so much of our audience.
And we actually give free advice all the time. People
Mm.
call us if they have questions. We don't charge until we actually take on a case and assume power of attorney and actually start engaging in negotiations. But we try to be a free resources out there. I saw that you have a blog and you have a lot of free information out there, and people need that financial information to make wise decisions.
And
Yeah.
that's why we love doing our podcast, because here's the place, a platform where we can provide this information and ask questions. I am going to be asking some questions that, if a couple of our clients are listening, they're going to know it's about them. But it's really important because it's so scary, and a forensic. I know you brought up a forensic, Karen, but they're not tax experts. And taxes, there's so many things that incorporate the tax ramifications that you have to consider and you have to do it beforehand. And I saw you put your hands up earlier. It's because the attorneys are not going to do that, is what you were saying. Right. So don't
Right.
think your attorney is doing that. And it is in there that I know I do see that in most agreements, but you need the information beforehand.
Yeah, let's hop right in. Question number one, and we see this a lot, especially for people who have not been the financial manager, but who have just signed those tax returns every year. I was on the call yesterday, and it's time, for filing tax returns on extension. And she said, I'm thinking about divorce, but for the last 20 years, he hasn't let me see the tax returns, and I just signed. So I feel like I just have to sign again this year. So we did briefly talk about the innocent spouse status, but what do you have to say about that?
It is not as easy to get innocent spouse as most people think. And the IRS will tell people, oh, just apply for innocent spouse. Family law attorneys have told people just apply for innocent spouse. The standard for innocent spouse is actually pretty high. So to qualify for it, you have to show that not only you didn't know about the tax debt, but you didn't benefit from it. So,
Mm.
so if you have money coming into the household finances into joint accounts and it's supporting the home where you live, it's paying for the cars you drive, it's paying for the food. So if you see all this money and you're benefiting from it and the taxes aren't being paid on that income, you're still going to be held responsible for it. So innocent spouse really does apply where somebody's taking money, they're embezzling money, or they're taking money and they're putting it in their own private accounts that you're not seeing any benefit from that. So it's a pretty high standard that most people don't understand. They hear innocent spouse, oh, it's all his debt. If it benefited the household, you're probably not going to get, have innocent spouse relief granted. So
That's a
it's
great
a high
point.
bar.
That's a
Yeah.
really
So
good
what
point.
if they sign the tax return without the spouse's signature that they still have to meet the standard?
So if they signed it without the other spouse's signature,
Mm-hmm.
it's the same standard. As long as they
Mm.
signed it, doesn't matter when or by who. Everybody, and this is going to scare a lot of people. My biggest advice, and if you don't have a CPA explaining it to you, get a second opinion. You can always get a second opinion. The problem comes in when you've had, Fred, the CPA, that's his golfing buddy or whatever, that's done it for years, and they've always done it. Go somewhere else. You can get a copy of that return. You can go somewhere else and get that in it. And if he says no, you don't have to sign it. He
What if
can
your
read,
spouse signs it illegally for you?
then that's you claim fraud.
It's
Mm.
fraud.
Claim
It's not
identity
innocent
theft.
spouse.
You claim identity fraud. You claim it's not your signature, and the IRS will investigate that. Identity fraud is a big thing, and that would not appear well before a judge either.
Mm. No, that's
So
right.
that's why I would say, look, yeah, again, if you've electronically signed a lot of things or e-signature, contact the CPA. You do not have my authorization to do that. Have a sit down meeting, and any reputable CPA will go through and explain it. But if you don't have a clue what's going on, don't sign. It's the number one way that people get hurt. And if you owe jointly, you're liable jointly, and they
Yeah.
will go after both parties.
Wow.
That actually leads into a question I have. So parties they're still married. They're going to get divorced October 2024. She just finds out that spouse does not pay any of his quarterly payments. and now tells her that they owe around upwards of 200,000. And his own personal account where he's saving does not have 200,000 in it. So, but his income is there around a $500,000, right? So if they get divorced October and they file separately, is she still responsible for the taxes that he didn't pay on his income? She's a W-2 employee, so she's been paying her own taxes. Is she responsible for his taxes that he never paid and the penalty? Because he said there's a penalty now.
Yep, 8% penalty went up from 3% to 8% in November.
Oh,
Thank you, Congress. It was done in a bipartisan manner. So,
that's a
so
big hike.
it is a big hike, and a lot of people are going to get hit by it. But back to the question: if you don't sign jointly for the current year, and you said estimated tax payments for the current year, she won't owe. If that's the key, is to if you think your spouse isn't paying taxes, it is a little more expensive to file married filing separate, but it's much better than to have to deal with the IRS. The caveat there is if you know there's tax debt, you can assume responsibility for it. But if usually most marriage settlements agreements say they split the tax debt 50-50, which is a horrible idea.
Yeah,
Absolutely horrible idea.
I agree.
Can you elaborate on that? Because I think a lot of people don't understand why that's a horrible idea. And so often you probably will believe this, but I still find it crazy. The attorneys will make an agreement amongst themselves that the clients will share the debt in, support agreements, marital settlement agreements, and the client doesn't even, first of all, know what that means and was never a part of the conversation or privy to the decision making of that.
And it's typical in a marriage settlement agreement to split that 50-50. It's just that they don't know better. Family law attorneys don't know better. I've talked to different firms. I've offered to do seminars, which I should get around to, on this very issue. The problem is when you have a third party that's actually enforcing this, like the IRS, they don't care. The law is that it's joint and several liability, and again, you hope both parties, men and women, men are usually the flakes.
Mhm.
It just is. And so if you agree 50-50, and sometimes it does go the other way, and the other party can't pay, doesn't want to pay, disappears, you're still left holding the bag. So I have a case right now, married couple, where she just wants to set up an installment agreement, pay her half of the debt. The IRS will not accept that. She has to set up something to pay the full amount of the debt, and then they'll pursue him. But he's broke. He actually, if he does an offer in compromise or if he does a hardship status, very often they won't have to pay anything, while the other party that does have assets and income gets stuck with the whole bill.
So let's bring that up. A lot of agreements read any prior tax issues that arise post divorce, wife is excluded. So now let's just go ahead 2 years. What you're saying is the IRS now says, wait a minute, the Smith family owes $50,000 from 2020. It doesn't matter what the divorce decree is saying. The IRS wants that payment from both parties because they filed that. Is that what you're saying?
The IRS is under no obligation whatsoever to acknowledge state orders by family law judges, and they won't. Now, they will recognize distributions of property in a marriage settlement agreement, but when it comes to who's liable for the tax debt, federal law trumps. And they will
How do you protect yourself then? If let's just say I'm getting divorced and I know my spouse has kind of been a little wonky about the tax returns, and how is there a way to protect myself, or no, I'm shit out of luck basically.
So if you're already filing jointly, here's my number one suggestion: assume the liability. In the MSA, say, okay, I will take it on because I don't trust him, but compensate me from the joint marital assets to even things out.
No, what if you don't know? What if it's like a prior year comes up? You're just stuck.
If you don't know, then you have to take him back to family law court, and you know what that's like. It's like split squeezing blood from a turnip. So this is why you have to be. And I've seen so many people, and I've talked to financial planners and advisors, and I said, "Do you know what's on your tax return? Oh,
Mhm.
do you talk to your CPA? Do you know what your estimated tax payments would be?" Most of them don't know. So especially if you have a housewife or someone that isn't involved, doesn't know, they're working a W-2 job, they don't know what's going on in the business, you have to talk to your CPA, get informed, and if they're not going to give you good information, go somewhere else. So just in general, if you're not even planning for divorce, you should get informed. You don't have to be an expert on that, but talk to someone that will give it to you straight, and you can take it to another CPA. They'll review it. They'll probably charge you a nominal fee, but tell you, okay, this is the gist of what's going on.
So, Hubert, you have a television show that covers these types of issues that people can watch, find you.
Yeah, it's on smartmoneyculture.tv, or all of these episodes are also shared on our through our website on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So
So
I've been doing
typically
this
we
since January.
say that again.
I've been doing this since January, Monday through Friday.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Usually we say this, and we will say this again at the end of our discussion, but I think it's very relevant right here in this spot because you do need to be informed. And that's something that my divorce solution is so committed to, is education and owning your responsibility to know this information so that you can make really good, smart decisions for yourself. So I appreciate that you're doing that in the tax world as well. That's great.
Have to be informed and have to know what's going on. And if your partner doesn't have it together, they don't even have their bookkeeping together, which is more typical than not,
Mhm.
don't file jointly. Protect yourself. And you know what? I've actually helped people save their marriages or prolong it by filing separately, because that way they didn't have to worry about the other person's mess.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
I can,
I'm sorry, Karen.
no, it's
You know,
fine.
you said that, you help people save their marriages because in divorce, we all know finances, it's the finances and the kids. Those are the two components of a divorce, right? And in our process, Hubert, it's really fascinating when we have couples that come through or individuals and then their spouse participates, and you realize there's just not an autonomy of information between the parties, and you're married 30 years and you're just kind of mad at yourself for not partaking, or you're mad at your spouse for not letting you partake. And so when they come through our process, it's kind of like an even keel. And they do. Some get post-nups. They just say, okay, here's my half of the marital estate, and I'm going to run that money as I will, and you get to run it this way. And that sounds like what you're doing too. And so sometimes at my divorce solution, the solution is not a divorce. It is, you needed this financial knowledge. You need to get on the same page. And now you can go to your marriage counseling and maybe have a successful marriage.
All I do is give advice there. We don't actually file the returns. We don't prepare returns. We are very specialized in that. We just deal with IRS and state tax issues.
Mhm.
Now, can you do a comparison for a couple? Like, so, like the status between the filing statuses to show, because even with that, a party will agree to file jointly because it saves the overall family from the tax bracket, but she wants, or he wants to be compensated on what they would have received if they filed alone.
I don't prepare returns, so that would be a CPA. But again, we work with excellent CPAs across the country, and again, so we're very specialized and staying in our lane. But again, we work with plenty of other people that do exactly that. And sitting down with either a financial advisor or a tax planner is something
Mhm.
that we try to steer most of our clients to not only deal with the mess, we deal with the nasty messes, but get them cleaned up so that they don't have tax issues moving forward, and then move them on to financial advisors, tax planners, etc., to help them in their journey moving forward.
Oh, yeah, understood. Okay, yeah, I understand now what I asked. Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
great.
that's good.
Makes
All right.
sense.
Let's hop into this next question: how to avoid tax issues with shared custody of children. I'm sure that happens over and over and over again.
Absolutely. So and so claimed a child, and they weren't supposed to, or they're supposed to switch off years. It is so much easier, and just think about KISS method is the way to go. So keep it simple.
Stupid.
Yeah. So the IRS, they don't really want to be in the fight. And so often people will go and they'll file first, and someone can contest it and include the court documents, et cetera. And it becomes a bigger problem when the other person just doesn't have any money. But the best way to do that is to contest it is not fight it with the IRS. If someone starts claiming the kids, I'd say fine. but now you're going to either pay more in child support or I'm going to drop my child support. Take it to the family law court, get support adjusted in your favor to compensate you for that. It's so much easier than fighting the IRS. They are taking on identity fraud cases and claiming independence that weren't yours an average of 1 to 2 years to resolve these cases.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
Yeah, they're very backed up and it's not getting better.
That's crazy.
that's a good tip.
Yeah.
So,
Do you run across a lot of capital gains tax issues in divorces?
no, I don't,
Okay.
because I'm dealing with the balance. I deal with the audits and the collections with the IRS, but again, we work
Mm-hmm.
hand in hand with plenty of CPAs that do.
Mm-hmm.
And I am working on a case right now dealing with capital gains issues, loss carry forwards, and stretching back to 2016, 2017. And it's a very multi-million dollar case that we're working on, and I'm working hand in hand with a local CPA on that.
Yeah, that's excellent. So, what is your one really good piece of advice if you're approaching divorce relative to empowering yourself with tax issues?
Get informed. I mean,
Mhm.
if you're not informed, you can't start. Start asking questions. Look, again, you have amazing resources to help people plan financially for this. Again, there are financial planners out there, coaches. I met with one just the other day that's going to be a guest on my show. Start off, and if you're not budgeting, start. It's just start improving your financial acumen and your financial skills because it will help you and pay dividends in the long run. I know a lot of people they look at this stuff and go, and want to run
Yeah.
the other way screaming.
Mm-hmm.
Just start. And that's why you build a team around you. So a perfect analogy is you have your regular doctor, which is your CPA and your bookkeeper that manage things and they're on top of you, they're helping you keep things straight. I'm the emergency room guy. I come in, deal with the nasty mess, perform the surgeries or whatever, and then send you back to them for ongoing care. And starting that care, building a team around you, especially for people that are self-employed, it is such a relief to have a team of professionals assisting you, and it doesn't have to break the bank, but so then you can focus on your core business and thrive. And I've seen that so many times.
Yeah.
That's excellent work that you do.
We're like pre-op and triage.
That's true.
This is great. It's great information. It's so happy to have you as a resource because it really does come into so many families' situations that they have to get informed about tax consequences and what are your rights. And don't go down the rabbit hole of running to the IRS sometimes. Sometimes you can handle that right at home or with the team that you currently have in place, but you have to do it and you have to do it sooner than later.
Exactly.
It almost never pays to wait with the IRS. There are exceptions to that, but the IRS gives bad information out every single day. One of the biggest pieces of bad information is if people haven't filed tax returns for years, the IRS will consistently tell people you have to file 10 years of tax returns. It's only 6.
Mm.
And currently, right now, we're telling people not to file 2018 because the time you pay for it and get it processed, and the IRS takes 6 months to process all the returns out. Come January 1st, they won't be able to ask for 2018 anymore.
Mm.
That's amazing. We have a good number of clients who say we haven't filed tax returns in years. I find that unbelievable, but it must be more common than what we know.
It's so
It
funny
is
because
more,
filing on an extension makes me nervous. I can't imagine doing
that's good to be nervous about. And just make sure everything's paid. If you're making estimated tax payments and you're on top of the game. But
Yeah.
helping people get to that point is a huge part of what we do. Educate them as to the consequences. And here's the truth of it when dealing with the IRS. If you continue to owe, and this is if someone's in a relationship that they're questioning, should I get divorced? If you have someone that's continued to owe and compound their problems, they don't even qualify for any resolution until they get their filings caught up and they start making estimated tax payments or paying enough into the system to cover the tax debt for the next year. And the IRS is getting a lot more aggressive about that. So beware of bad information. Call, get some free advice before you step in a bear trap. I had one true story guy came to me in 2019, and he was thrilled. He was so proud of himself that he had got caught up with the IRS and filed 23 years of returns.
Whoa.
And the funny thing is that IRS tax debt expires roughly 10 years after it's assessed. This went all the way back to 1996, and this debt from 1996 and 2019 would not expire till 2029 at the soonest. It's still active debt from 1996.
Whoa.
Because he didn't get good advice first.
Wow. That's stressful. That would drive me to drink for sure.
That's incredulous.
Doesn't mean there aren't ways to deal with it, but
yeah,
get that advice first. It shouldn't cost you an arm and a leg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in that space, knowing the questions to ask is half the battle, right? Had they just known to come to you and ask that question, how many years do I need to go back and file, instead of just, I guess, rolling the dice and deciding this is what I'm going to do. I think that's a huge critical issue as well.
Well, same with what you do. I'm sure you love the clients that come in early.
Mm-hmm.
You're shaking your head and smiling. You can help them out. You can help them prepare for going through divorce. There's a lot less you can do when they're already in the middle, or they've already signed it and they come to you, well, can you help me now? I can help you moving forward, but there's already a huge mess. The best clients that we have are the ones that come to us early, before they filed returns. They know there's a problem. They want to deal with it. Mm-hmm. We know to ask those questions. So don't feel like you have to know the questions to ask. We'll review your situations. We know the questions to ask to help guide you through the process. And believe it or not, my office manager teases me that I make people cry. But when you sit down and you go through someone's situation and you show them that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, there's a way through this. And with what you deal with divorce, I mean, that's huge to people.
A little bit of hope, right? I thought I was the one that made people cry. I'm glad it's you, Hubert, not me.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. And can you remind us all again how our listeners can find you and learn more about you?
Our direct phone number is 520-485-7371, or you can find us on our website at guardiantaxlaw.com. We give advice in all 50 states and even the territories as well. So again, if you have questions, call beforehand. And again, there's plenty of free sources out there. I was talking today about the VITA clinics that are out there for free tax preparation.
I used to do that in college. I did the VITA program because I have an accounting degree.
They're looking for volunteers right now.
No, thank you. As a matter of fact, Hubert, I'm putting you on my speed dial.
A wonderful resource.
But if you're in college or you're looking for that experience, it's a great opportunity to contribute to your community.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah,
that's great. So this concludes our discussion on tackling tax issues when divorcing. Thank you again so much for a fantastic conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of We Chat Divorce. We hope this episode was informative and supportive on your divorce journey. If you're looking for more support for navigating divorce with confidence and clarity, head over to mydivorcesolution.com for more podcast episodes, divorce events, and resources for your divorce. We'll see you back here for our next episode.